In measurements, we have a lot of things that we need to measure. One of the things that we need to measure is the time. And if the definition of the time is not included, so how long something need to happen. And we know that time, we have a watch to measure a long period of time, and we have a stopwatch to measure short time, and we have digital stopwatch to have to measure the very short time, like light gates, okay, with data logger to measure something that passed through it. And the main unit is what? Is seconds. Now we have to know how to convert from minutes into seconds, which by multiplied by how much? Every minute, how many seconds? Exactly, 60. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. 60. And also we have to know, thank you, Khaled, thank you, Muhammad. And also we have to know that how to convert hours into what? Into seconds. By multiplied by how much? By 60. Every hour has 60 minutes and every minute has 60 seconds. Multiplied by 60, how many times? Twice. So if I multiply by 60 twice, that means I'll multiply by how much? Bravo, not 120, not 360. I'm multiplying by 3,600 what? Second. Be careful, okay? Not 360, not 120. 60 times 60 is 3,600. And the same thing, if I want to convert from days into seconds, I need to know how many hours in each day, which is 24 hours. Exactly, thank you. And then I convert multiplied by 3,600. So it depends on the time that they give it to us during the exam, okay? So if we look to this question, okay, first question, a pendulum takes 5 complete swings, okay, in 2 minutes, 40 seconds. This is the time, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. What is the time period of one complete swing? What is the period? Actually, the period, as we are going to study it later on, it's equal to what? To the time divided by number of oscillations, okay? So we have here the time, which is 2 minutes, 2 multiplied by 60 and 40 seconds, okay? All of this are divided by what? The number of oscillations, which is what? 50. 2 times 60, which is 120, plus 40, 160, divided by 50, how much it will be? 3.2. Yes, thank you, bravo Muhammad, bravo Rania. Yes, 3.2 second. This is the time for what? For the pendulum to swing once, okay? So this is the answer for the first question. Let's go to the second question, for example. This is a past paper questions. You can see that from each question from where I bring it, okay? This is the code for each question. Yes, Tfadal Mu'taz, what's your question? From where we get the 60, each minute is 60 what? Seconds. So 2 minutes, 2 times 60 plus what? 40, okay? So you divide the time, the total time, divide by number of oscillations to find how much is the time for each what? Oscillation. Yes, it's the period. The period, capital T, or the time for one oscillation, equal the total time divided by number of what? Oscillations. Now here, as you can see, we have a question with a picture with a what? With a stopwatch. What they ask here? A stopwatch is used to time a race. The diagram shows the watch at the end, okay, at the start and the end of the race. How long did the race take? As you can see here, it didn't start from exactly 0. It didn't start from 0. So what we call this? Yes, thank you, Tina. Okay, we call this zero error. All instruments, we have to check the zero error before we start what? Measuring, okay, or use it. So we have to put it on 0, or we have to check how much is the zero error inside it. So this here, it's 0.5 seconds in front of the 0, okay? So we add half second here, not 0, it's plus half second. This is called what? Zero error, okay? And this zero error, okay, it doesn't mean that it starts from 0. It starts from before or after 0, and that's not correct, okay? So if we look here to the time, and the time here, as you can see, it's 46.5, and it didn't start from 0. So I want to find the whole time, the time difference. So delta T, the change in the time, okay, the difference in the time, it's 46.5 minus the zero error, which is 0.5 second. So the answer, it will be how much? 46 what? Seconds. Yes, thank you, Yara, thank you, Muhammad, thank you, Rania. Okay, you have to be careful. And I have many questions, many students, they answer. I can't read all the answers because I have a lot here. Okay, so as you can see, the difference here, okay, we have to check the zero error. Later on, I'm going to explain with more details what are the zero error in each of the instrument, and we have to know how much it is. Okay, now as usual, okay, I leave some questions as homework later on to my students, okay, in the course, okay, and we are going to discuss it later on, okay. Now, usually all the multiple choice questions, I leave them for my students. Let's move on to question number 6, and this question number 6, it's from paper 2, the core in the old syllabus, okay. That means we are talking about core for Cambridge. I use this question to understand what's the meaning of the time interval. Now we are going to see what's the meaning of time interval, because a lot of students, they don't understand and realize what's the meaning of time interval. Look here to the question. A clock on a public building, okay, has a bell that strikes each hour so that people who cannot see the clock can know what hour of the day it is. Now, who can tell me what is a famous clock on a building? A name of a very famous clock on a building. Yes, thank you, Muhammad. Another one? Yes, Mu'taz. Yes, Dr. Mustafa, Abdul Rahman, Saji. Yes, it's Big Ben. Big Ben, actually, the army of Great Britain during the First World War, okay, they was invading Palestine. And the watch, okay, that they steal it from one of the buildings and one of the gates of Jerusalem, Al-Quds, okay, from Palestine, okay, they steal it and they took it there and Big Ben and they put it on that building, okay. So actually, Sultan Abdul Hamid, he asked for putting this clock on one of the gate of the Al-Quds Al-Sharif. So you don't know this story, maybe because of us, our media kind of didn't tell you this real things. Okay, so what they said here, at precisely 6 o'clock, okay, the clock starts to strike. It strikes 6 times, okay. At the first strike, the bell, okay, there was a watch, okay, wristwatch of one man, wristwatch, okay, was shown this figure. Who can tell me how much is this time here? Who can tell me? Exactly, it's 6 hours, what, 0 minutes, and what, 5 seconds, okay? Tamam? And here, how much is the time? Now, in Muhammad, it's not 0, okay, it's not 6 minutes, 0.5 minutes. It's not 6 hours, 0.5 minutes, okay? It's not like this. It's 6 hours, 0 minutes, and 5 what, seconds. You have to be careful that we have 3 arms here, okay? Yes, bravo. And the other one here, it's 6 hours, 0 minutes, and what, 15 seconds. So what they said here, a man wristwatch, as shown in figure 1.1, that's where the first strike happens of the 6 strikes, okay, of this clock, okay? When the bell strikes for the 6th time, the wristwatch was shown in this figure, figure 1.2, okay? A, calculate the time interval between the first and the 6th strikes, okay? Now, when they ask about the total difference between this time and this time, who can tell me how we can do that? Now, actually in math, okay, there is a bottom in the calculator that you can use it, okay? This is the screen, okay, and this is the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the addition and multiplication, and here, and this is the screen. There is a bottom here that has a small circle, comma, comma, comma. I will use it to put what? The time. So I can put 6, comma, okay, 6 hours, comma, 0 minutes, comma, and what, 15 seconds, comma, minus, okay, 6, okay, hours, comma, 0 minutes, comma, and 5 seconds, comma. I'll keep pushing this bottom, and I can find the difference. That's what they ask and where for they can ask for this in math. But here in physics, this is easy because the time is exactly how much? Bravo, it's only 10 seconds. So the difference here between the first strike and the 6th strike is what? Is exactly 10 seconds. Then what they ask, thank you, Rinad, okay, and Rania. calculate the time interval between one strike to the next strike. Now look here. How many times this clock strikes? It strikes how many times? 6 times, right? First strike, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth strikes. What the question is asking for? The question here asks about what? The time interval between the first strike and the sixth strike. If I have a stopwatch and I start the stopwatch, I will not start from this time. I'll start from what? From 0, right? If I don't have 0 error, right? So that means the first strike is exactly 0. I will not count it. I will count the time interval between the first strike and the second strike, because that's what they ask. The time interval between the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth, and the fifth to the sixth. So how many time interval do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 time intervals. So actually, to find the time intervals, okay, time is equal, okay, time intervals for each is equal the total time t divided by number of strikes, okay, or the time interval between the strikes. And the total time, we just find it out, which is 10, divided by the time interval between the strikes, which is what? 5. So the answer will be what? 2. Again, let me explain this for you. Now, 10 divided by 5 is not 0.5, okay? Again. Now, the first strike, I will assume it's the 0th thing that I will start counting after it, okay? So they ask about the time interval between each strike to the next strike. So from here to here, how much the time it needs, that's what they ask for. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 time intervals. So I will divide the total difference time, which is 10 seconds, divide by the number of time intervals, which is 5 times, and I'll get to 2 seconds. Now, what is my mistake? I did a mistake here. I will not get the 2 marks. What's my mistake? Who can tell me? Yes, thank you, Tina. Another answer. What's my mistake? Usually, for Edexcel and Cambridge, sometimes for Oxford, you need to put 0 with a dot. Why? I need to write the answer 2 or 3 significant figures. Okay? Usually, I need to put the answer 2 or 3 significant figures, but that's one mistake. Another mistake, I need to write the unit. What's the unit for the time? Exactly, it's second. So if I didn't put 2.0, okay, and the second, the unit, which is second, sometimes I will lose a marks. Other times, maybe they will neglect it for us, but mainly you have to write the unit, okay? Now look here for the next part. What do they ask? See, at precisely 11 o'clock, okay? The clock strikes how many times? 11 times, okay? Because if I can't see the clock, I can hear how many strikes, how many bangs, so I can know how much is the time. So at 11 o'clock, the clock starts to strike. Calculate, calculate the time interval between the first strike to the 11th strike. Now we said before here, the time for each strike is equal to the total time divided by number of time intervals. So if I do cross multiplication, that means the total time equal the time for each strike that we just find it out, which is 2 seconds, multiplied by the number of time intervals. So it will be 2 multiplied by, how many time intervals do we have here? Exactly, if I have 11 strike, that means I have what? I have 10 time intervals. Excellent, excellent. I have 10 time intervals. So my answer, it will be how much? 20 20 seconds. Now, here you can see that 20 seconds, it's not necessary to write it 20.0 seconds, okay? Because it's already 2 significant figures, okay? So that's an answer for this type of question. It's core Cambridge question, but they can bring similar to it to Edexcel, okay, or to AQA. Tamam? Any question? But why we change the equation? I didn't change the equation. I use the same equation. I do cross multiplication to find the total time. Total time equal the time for each multiplied by n. I put it over 1 and do cross multiplication, okay? Sir, from where we get the 2 seconds? Here, from this part. This is the 2 seconds. This 2 seconds, I use it here. This is the time interval for each one, okay? تمام. Okay, if you have any other questions, we can wait until the end of the session because I have program here. Okay, I will explain part B again. Okay, part B. Calculate the time interval for from one strike to the next strike. Now, they ask about the time interval between one strike to the next strike. How many strikes do I have? I have 6 strikes. The first strike is when I use the stopwatch, it will be start from 0. So I will not count it as time interval. I will start from it to count how many time interval do I have. 1 time interval, 2, 3, 4, 5 time intervals. So there is 5 time interval between one strike to the next strike. Okay, so that means, okay, I'm not talking about $10, for example, for 5 apples. Okay. So that means each apple is 10 divided by 5. That means, okay, it will be $2 for each apple. Okay, I'm not talking about this. Okay, I'm not dividing the total time by number of what? Of strikes. Okay, I'm dividing them on the time interval between each strike to the next strike. Okay, that's why they ask the interval between each one to the next one. So this time, which is 2 seconds, I multiply it by 10 time intervals. Because when we have, when the clock is 11 o'clock, okay, when the time is at 11, that I have 11 strikes, that means I have 10 what time intervals between each strike to the other. Okay, is it clear? Shakir, Muhammad, Sahar, is it clear? Any question? Okay, good, you are welcome. Let's move on to another question, question 7 here. Okay, what do we have? The period of vertical oscillation of a mass hanging from a spring is known to be constant. If I have any pendulum and this pendulum swing, the time for the pendulum to swing from here to return back to here, it's supposed to be constant for constant length of a pendulum. But whenever the pendulum is longer or shorter, the time will be different, but the time remains constant for the same length. Okay, so a student times singular oscillation with a stopwatch and 10 separate measurements. The stopwatch reading was like this: 1.8, 1.9, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, etc. These values are close to each other. If I have a value which is far, for example, 5 seconds, that means I will neglect it. Why I will neglect it? Because it's too far from the average, okay, or too far from these values. I call it anomalous value. Okay, if I have a value which is very small, okay, too small or too far from these values, I call anomalous data or anomalous value. I will neglect it from my calculations. So what they did here, the student did this 10 times, okay, and he measured the time interval for one oscillation. It will be hard to do that, okay, but that's why he did it 10 times to find the average. What they ask, what is the best value obtained by these readings from what the time of one oscillation? Explain your answer. Who can tell me what is the best value here from these values? Yes, 1.8 seconds. Yes, thank you, Hannah, Tina, and Muhammad, and Khaled. 1.8 seconds. Why? Why it's 1.8 seconds? Yes, Mu'taz, تفضل. Read, send me a message. What's your question? Because it's the most repeated. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times it's repeated. Or you can see it's the average or it's the mean, because if I add all these values divided by 10, it will be what? It will be 1.81 approximately. So in two significant figures as they give us, it will be 1.8. So you can write it is the most repeated. Okay. Or you can write, if you want, it is the average. It is the average, and you have to show them it is the average by putting that's here. T average, okay, is equal to 1.8 plus 1.9 plus 1.7 plus, okay, until what? Until the last value 1.8 divided by how many they are? There are 10, and it will be 1.81 seconds. So yes, it is the average. Okay, is it clear? You can write it is the mean value. Yes, you can write it is the mean. Okay, Part B, yes, Saji, send me the answer directly here. In part B, what they ask here, describe how using the same stopwatch, the student can find the period of the oscillation more accurately, and there's 4 marks, Saji. So it's very hard to mention only more measurements or measure more than 1 reading, more than 10 readings. You will not get the 4 marks by this short answer. I told you before, in any instrument like this stopwatch, if I need to use it to measure whatever I'm doing, because I'm talking about measurements here, I need first of all to check the 0 error. I need to fix it to see if there's 0 error on it or not. That's the first step. Then I will say that I'll measure it for how long? I'll measure it, for example, for not 1 oscillation. I'll measure it for 20 oscillations, okay? And as I measure it for 20 oscillations, okay, I will neglect something called reaction time error for a human being, okay? Because for us, I can't be that accurate to measure the time, okay, in the beginning and the end, similarly every time. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe someone is more attention and more focus. It depends from person to another. So that's why I need not to measure the time interval for 1 oscillation. I need to measure the time interval for 20 oscillations. I'll start the stopwatch, 1, 2, 3, 4. After 20 oscillations, I'll stop the stopwatch, measure how long is the time, then I'll divide by what? By the number of oscillations. It will be 20. Okay? Type. If I wrote these tips, yeah, Muhammad, Virania, Tina, Saji, I will get only 3 marks out of 4, not full mark. No. Where the 4th mark is gone? Huh? Thank you, Muhammad. Huh? I need to tell them what's the meaning of oscillation. I need to tell them what's the meaning of what? Of oscillation. So I have to tell these ideas or these, okay, as you can write it as paragraph or as bullet point, doesn't matter. Okay, I will write them, okay, in each idea or each mark, I'll write it down by a different color. So first, check the 0 error. Of the stopwatch. Then measure the time for 10 oscillations. For 10 oscillations, okay. And divide this time by 10. This is 3 marks. I have to explain to them, okay, that I understand what's the meaning of oscillation. The time of each oscillation is when the object return back to the maximum position to the right, for example, or to the left. Maximum position to the right. Now, some of you will tell me, Ustad, maybe I will not understand all of this during the exam. Maybe I will not write all that. That's why not all the students, they get full mark. That's why there's something called curve. That's why there's grade boundaries. So if you get, for example, in Edexcel, if you get 67 or 68 out of 90, okay, no, sorry, for Oxford, 67 or 68 out of 90, okay, you lose approximately 22 marks and you still get A or full mark. That's why they assume it. Sir, can you repeat the zero error? I will repeat it later. We have many questions about the zero error. Okay. Do I have to say repeat and take the average? If you said repeat and take the average, is not clear answer. Maybe you will get a mark, maybe not. It depends on what? Depends on the mark scheme, and you don't know the mark scheme during the exam. No one knows the mark scheme. That's why don't be lazy and tell them a full complete answer to get the mark. Okay. Tamam. I see that, Khalid. Can you repeat the zero? Can you repeat the zero? I understand. You put it 5 times. I will repeat it, but not now. Hold on. Okay. Tamam. Oh, this is long answer from Rania. The time should be constant with this avoid zero error. Okay, repeat it to measure. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we can do that also, Rania. Tamam. You are welcome, Khalid. Now, so we have a lot of things that we need to measure. The first thing that we measured is what is the time. The second thing, okay, for the general physics, it's what is the length. And the definition of length is not included in the syllabus. But if I want to write about the length, what's the length? How what? Bravo. How far 2 points from each other? How far 2 points from each other? Like I'm talking about what? I'm talking about distance. How far? When I'm talking about far, how far it is, I'm talking about the distance between two objects. Okay, so the height, the depth, the width are distances. Okay, so this is the definition, but it's not necessary to write it down. Now, what are the equipments that we use it to measure distances? Now, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Rania. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about what are the units. I'm talking about the equipments. If I want to measure my height, okay, if I want to measure the length of the mobile, or I need to measure the thickness of a paper, or I need to measure the distance from me to that building here. Okay. So what I'm going to do here? Exactly. It depends on what are the things that we need to measure. Okay. If I'm talking about the normal distances, I will use what? Ruler, or I will use meter rule. Meter rule. But for what? Long distances, okay, I will use what? Measuring tape. Measuring tape. But if I have what? If I have short distances, like how much is the thickness of a paper, I will use what? Micrometer screw gauge or vernier caliper. Micrometer. Okay. So it depends on the things that I need to measure, how big or small it is. Okay. Tamam. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Khaled. Thank you, all of you. Yes. iPhone user. If you please put your name, not iPhone user. Okay. Thank you. Tamam. Thank you, Muhammad. Now, if we have, okay, the length, and we have several units for it, the main unit, okay, it's what? It's meter. The main unit is meter, not meter cube, okay? What is other units? We have a lot of other units in math, okay? We have a lot of other units, okay? And you are going to study each unit, how you are going to convert it into meters. But in physics, we have only few. Yeah, for example, centimeter, and what? Millimeter and kilometer. Now, centi came from cent. How many cent in each dollar? How many cent in each dollar? When we said centimeter or meter, we are talking about cent. How many cent in exactly? So centimeter is smaller by meter by how many times? Exactly by 100 times. So when we convert from centimeter to meter, we need to divide by 100. Okay, because always whenever we convert from something small to something big, we divide by 100. But if we convert from something big like kilometer to something small like meter, kilo, thousand, Newton, kilo, joule, kilogram, kilometer, kilo means 1,000. So I need to multiply this value by 1,000 to convert it from kilometer to be meter. And finally, the opposite of kilo, it's milli. When I said millimeter, milligram, millinewton, millisecond, milli means 1,000th, a part of 1,000. So I will divide it by how much? Exactly divide by 1,000. Yes, for kilo, we have kilowatt, kilojoule. Yes, exactly. So for millimeter, millisecond, millinewton, milli means divide 1,000. 1 divide by 1,000. Okay, good. Any question? As usual, the multiple choice questions are homework for next lecture. Okay, but I want to show you one of these questions. Okay, like question number 10. Look to this question. Okay, it's from Cambridge. Okay, May, June 2007. First question. Okay, what they ask. The diagram shows a thick-walled tube. A tube which has a thick wall. Okay, this is the thickness of it. The thickness of the wall is 3 millimeter. What is the internal diameter? Not the external diameter, the internal diameter. That means the distance from inside, not from outside. What is the internal diameter of the tube? And they label it here with an arrow. Now, for anything that it's hard to measure its distance, as you are going to see in paper, the practical paper question in Edexcel, or the alternative to practical paper in Cambridge as paper 6, we need to use 2 set squares to hold the object from both sides, and we need to use the ruler to measure the dimensions from outside. So you can see that this dimension is how much here? It's 4 centimeter. Yes, it's correct. And this dimension here, okay, it's what? 7.4 centimeter. Okay. Now, actually here, they didn't ask about the external diameter. Because if they ask about the external diameter, the diameter outside, okay, the thickness from outside, or the diameter external, okay, what I'm going to do, I will subtract 7.4 minus 4, which is what? 3.4, and voila, I get the answer. I circle it, I lose the mark. They didn't ask about that. They ask about what? Bravo. They ask about the internal diameter. So that means I need to subtract the thickness of the wall. And that means I need to subtract the thickness from this side, right side, and the thickness from left side. So D is equal the external diameter minus what? The thickness. And because we have 2 thicknesses here, that means I'll multiply it by what? 2. 2 what? Thicknesses. Okay? So how much is the thickness again? The thickness is what? 3 millimeter. Right? 3 millimeter means 0.3 what? Centimeter, because all the units is what? In centimeters. I see a lot of answers, but none of them is correct. Only few of them is correct. Okay? So that means it will be 3.4 minus 2 multiplied by what? 0.3. And by using calculator, the answer will be how much? 2.8 centimeter. And the correct answer, it will be A. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. I know it's a multiple choice question. You can answer it in 1 minute or less. Okay, but don't answer it wrongly. You have to read the question, be careful, look to each information they give it to you. This information, okay, they give you a picture. You have to be careful, okay, and focus about the ideas that they give it to you. Don't rush, okay, and give a wrong answer. So they didn't ask about the external diameter from the 2 set squares, okay, from 4 to 7.4. No, they asked to subtract the thickness of the wall. And look here, they give it to you in millimeter, and you have to convert it into centimeter, because here the units are in what? In centimeters. So that's why I divide by 10 to convert from millimeter to centimeter. So it's 0.3. And we have 2 thicknesses, one on the right and one on the left. So the internal diameter that they ask about it's equal to the external diameter minus 2 the thicknesses, and that's how we can get the answer. From where we get the 2, we have 2 thicknesses, one here and one here. Okay, Rafaida, Muhammad, Khalid, same question from 3-4 students. Did you understand from where we get the 2? Tamam, shukran lak. Yes, shukran Muhammad. Okay, is it clear? You are welcome. You are welcome. I don't prefer to yes. طيب مش مشكلة. I don't prefer to mention names of students that they answer wrongly, but okay, but there's a lot of questions from the same students. That's why. Tamam? Okay, let's move on to question number 12. This is question number 12 from core paper Cambridge. Okay, what do we have here in this question? طب أستاذ ليش تعطينا الكور؟ Core give us information about how we can do paper 6 because it's core, okay? And also sometimes small information for the extended paper, paper 4 for Cambridge. But also don't forget that in Edexcel and Oxford, there's no core and extended. There's higher and lower, or okay, paper 1 and paper 2. Sometimes they ask low-level questions, then high-level questions, okay, in the same paper. So you have to be careful about this, okay? Look here at what they ask. The figure below shows how a student used a ruler to measure the height h, okay? The height of a pile of wooden blocks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wooden blocks, okay? And they measure the height. The reading was inaccurate because the student practical technique was poor, okay? Hey, I will send the paper again to my groups. Okay, all my students, they have this paper, so you have to be careful, okay? Tamam, from where you get the link, ask them to have the paper because I send the paper, okay, with the link. Tamam? So, the student practical technique was poor, okay? Complete the figure below to show the correct method to read the height h using the meter rule. Now, if I have a ruler and I need to measure what this mobile, how long it is, can I do like this? Can I put the ruler in one side and the watch on one side? No, I have to put them close to each other, okay? Can I take the reading from the top, okay? Or I have to make them without having parallax error. I have to make them in the same level and I go up and down to take the readings, okay? So here we have a lot of mistakes. One of the mistakes here that my sight is not perpendicular to the view. That's called parallax error. Parallax error. How to solve this parallax error? Okay, I need to what? To be perpendicular view. Perpendicular view. To have the perpendicular view, okay, that means I have to be perpendicular to the ruler. To what? Okay. And there's another mistake here in this question, that here it didn't start from what? From 0. So we have also 0 error. We have to what? Okay, we have to solve this problem by what? Start from 0. Okay, start from 0. Okay. So if I need to fix these two problems to get the 2 marks, I need to put the ruler exactly here. This is the 0. Okay. And this is the ruler, for example. And I need to put my eye perpendicular view to the ruler here in this position. This is my eye to have what? Perpendicular view to avoid the parallax error. So in this situation, what I did here, exactly, thank you, Tina. I solved the 2 errors here to the 2 practical techniques, okay, was poor, and I remove the 0 error because the ruler starts from 0, so I have to put the 0 in the same beginning of the height. The second step, I have to be perpendicular view with what? With the ruler, okay? So that's part A of this question. Part B, use your own ruler, okay, to measure the height marked H on the last figure. Now, unfortunately, all of you have your own printers and each one has different printers. So maybe you print this paper out with different dimensions, with different what? Size. So I don't prefer, okay, to have, okay, that because an exam, okay, or in the externals, all of you will have the same standard size of the paper. So if you use your ruler and you measure the distance here, it will be the same distance. Let's assume that the distance here, it's 2.5 what? Centimeter. That's an easy mark. And usually they ask you to use your ruler to what? To measure distances, okay? What they ask here, the last figure is drawn to a scale. It is 1/10 of the actual size. What's the meaning of 1/10 of the actual size? That means it's a smaller by 10 times of the actual size. That means this picture, it is smaller by the real size of the object. By how many times? By what? 10 times. Okay, what they ask here. Calculate T, the actual thickness of one wooden block. How many wooden blocks do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look here, I didn't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 each line. I count how much like time interval. I'll measure how many blocks do we have here, right? That's why we put the question about the number of strikes for the clocks and here the blocks, okay? So we have 6 blocks here. So that means the thickness for each block is equal. The thickness of all of them divided by their number. And their thickness, it's not 2.5. I will multiply this value by how much? Bravo, I multiply this time by what? 10th. Multiply by 10 because I have 10, okay? The actual size. It's smaller by 10 times, so I'll multiply it by 10, divide by their number, which is how many do we have? I told you. We have what? 6 blocks. So what will we get here? 25 divided by 6 blocks. So the answer will be how much by using calculator? Thank you, bravo. 25 divided by 6. The answer will be, okay, 4.1666667. Don't do that. Don't do that. It is what? 4.2. 2 significant figures or 3 significant figures, centimeter. Again, what do we have here? We use our ruler to measure the height. It was 2.5 centimeter. Okay. Then they said that this picture is smaller by how many times? 10 times. So that means the 2.5 centimeter, it's 25 centimeter for the height edge. They ask about the actual thickness of each block, one block. How many blocks do we have here? We count the number of blocks, not the number of lines. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So that's why the actual thickness for each block is equal to the thickness for all of them, divided by their number. So 12.5 multiplied by 10. Okay. Divide by 6. And the answer, I will not write the whole thing. I'll write it. You can write it 4.17 centimeter, or you can write it 4.2 centimeter. Always, yes, thank you, Muhammad. You have to put your answers as 2 or 3 significant figures. Tamam? Did I answer your question, Martez? Everything is clear, Tina, Rania? Okay? Tamam, mashallah alaykum. Okay. Another question here about the micrometer. Look here, they give us the picture of the micrometer. And they ask, the figure below shows a part of measuring instrument. State the name of this instrument. It's easy, Mark. It's micrometer. You can write micrometer screw gauge, or you can write micrometer. You get the mark, okay? Tamam? Yes. Now, one of the questions, why is T represented by thickness? Any letter. Write H, write W. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's not Quran. It's the formulas. Okay, you can write any symbol, but because they ask for standard symbol, this is logical formula that I invented it now. Okay, so you can write whatever you want. Tamam? Yes, we have time, we have thickness. Okay, like pressure. We have power. We have Pascal, okay? We have velocity, we have volume, we have voltage, okay? So a lot of letters, they are repeated, so you can use whatever you want, okay? So, part B, record the reading shown in this figure. What is the reading of this figure? Now, for the micrometer, we have 2 readings. We have major reading and minor reading. Okay, now what's actually the micrometer? You have to see it in the school of lab. Okay, it's an instrument. Okay, there is a question here. Okay, let me show it to you. This is the micrometer. It has 2 jaws, and you can put the object inside, and by screw this instrument. Okay, the gauge keep the jaws here. They keep moving away from each other or towards each other, and they touch or they press on the object, okay, to find the dimensions of it. So we have 2 readings here. Each one complete revolution here give you 0.5 millimeter, okay, for the micrometer screw gauge, okay. So for example, if we go here to this question, we can see that we have what? We have 1 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter, okay. So again, the first reading, it's 0.5, 1, 1.5 to 2.5 millimeter. So 2.5 millimeter plus, because we are talking about very accurate instrument, this line, okay, this line, it's supposed to be straight line with what? With the readings that I'm going to take the details of it. That's how much small details we have. How much the reading here between 20 and 25? You can see 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it's what? 23. But as I told you, each one complete revolution, okay, as we screw it, it's half millimeter. Okay, it's half millimeter. So I'm not talking about a complete circle here. Okay, a complete circle, it's half millimeter. So each division of these values, okay, of this scale, it's actually for 2 complete revolution. I'm talking about 1 millimeter. So it's 100 divisions here. So that means this minor reading, the small reading, I will put it as 0.23. I will divide it by 100. So to be how much precise is the reading here. So we have major reading, we put it as it is, and we have a minor reading, we divide it by 100. So here 2.5, and here 23. I will divide it by what? Divided by 100 to get how much small is this value in what? To get how much small is this value in parts of millimeter. And the final answer will be 2.73 what? Millimeter. That's why it's micrometer. It's very small. It's very accurate. Okay. Yes. And millimeter, they're both written in small letter. M small, not capital M, capital M, not small m, capital M. No, it's not like this. Okay. Tamam, millimeter. Now, part C of this question, what they ask. Describe how you will find the thickness of a sheet of paper used in a magazine. If I have a sheet of paper and I use it directly, the micrometer, to measure its thickness, I will not be accurate because it's a paper. It's very thin. So what do I need to do? Tell me in the chat. Yes. Bravo. Another answer. Thank you, Muhammad. Huh? Thank you, Tita. Okay, so I will measure the thickness of, for example, 50 sheets, 100 sheets, okay? So I'll not take 1 or 2 papers because the paper is very small. So if I take, for example, 50 sheets or 100 sheets, it will be, for example, 2-3 centimeters or 20-30 millimeter. So I can't take the readings of them. Then this thickness, I will divide by how much? Exactly, thank you, Mustafa. Like what we did here in the stopwatch, I will measure the time for 20 complete oscillations. Then I will divide this time by 20. So here I would measure the thickness of 100 sheets. Then I will divide by 100. But here I will get only 2 marks. Sometimes they put this question as 4 or 3 marks like this one. So what do I need here? It's an instrument that I will use it to measure. So what I need to say here? Bravo, I need to check the 0 error. So first, check the 0 error. Then measure the thickness of, let's say, 100 sheets. Then divide this thickness. Then divide this thickness by 100. The extra mark, the 4th mark, sometimes they put it, especially in Excel, the extra mark, they ask about how we can use this instrument. Okay, if I need to measure the 100 sheets of paper, I do not need to press. And don't press as we measure. Or you can say also, measure from different what? Positions. That's another extra mark. And measure the 100 sheets from 2 different positions and find the mean. Then you divide by 100. Okay, measure. Okay, the 100 sheets from different positions. Now, if one of the questions that we are going to talk about it later on, is to use the micrometer to measure the thickness of the wire. Okay, so measure it from different orientation, from here, for example, and from here, and find the mean or find the average. Okay, one of the questions, can we say repeat the measurement for more accuracy? Yes, when we say measure it, the 100 feet from different positions and find the average, we get the mark and find the mean. Yes, and find the mean. Okay, then divided by what? Divide by 100. Yes. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Rania. Thank you, Muhammad. Can I write in bullet points? Yes, you can write it in bullet points, okay? Not as paragraph. They don't care about English-wise here, okay? Is there a range for the answer? Now, this answer, there is no range here. Sometimes they ask you estimate. If they ask you to estimate, like that's later on, estimate the answer, okay, that means there is range of the question, okay, but we don't have now estimation. Later on there is questions for estimation. Tamam. Why divide by 100? Because I said 100 sheets. If I said 50 sheets, I would divide by 50 sheets. If I said 20 sheets, divide by 20 sheets. So it depends on what? On how many sheets did I measure in the beginning, okay? Tamam. Can we say repeated? Yes, we can say this. Okay, you are welcome. Yeah, ahlan, ahlan, ahlan. Let's move on to next things that we can measure, which is what? Area. Now, in math, we have a lot of areas and a lot of formulas for each area. But in physics, we have only specific areas that we need to know them. For example, if I have a square, length and length, what's the area of it? It's length times length. That means length square, okay, or S square. If I have, for example, a rectangle that has length and width, the area of it, it will be exactly length multiplied by width. Bravo, thank you. If we have a triangle, for example, a right angle triangle or a normal triangle, okay, we have to know how much is the height and how much is the base, and the area of it exactly, it's half base height. The area of it is base height divided by what? 2, half base height. Yes, thank you. Okay, and even if we have a different triangle that not exactly, okay, right angle triangle, I have to know how much is the height here, and I have to know the base, and it will be the same formula. It will be half base height, or height base divided by what? Divide by 2. Also, we have to know if we have a trapezium. And in trapezium, as we know in math, we have 2 sides and we have a height, okay? And we have to know how much is the area of the trapezium. And we know that the area of the trapezium is the addition of both bases divided by 2, multiplied by what? The height, the separation distance between the bases. Finally, if we have a circle with a radius or with a diameter, the area of it is what? Pi r square, the radius square. All these are the areas, the shapes of the areas and the formulas that we have to know them for what? For the IGCSE syllabus for all boards, Cambridge, Edexcel, and Oxford. The main unit of area is what? Meters square. Yes, because I'm multiplying length in meters multiplied by width in meters. So meters times meters, it will be meters square. So we have to know how to convert from millimeters square, from centimeters square to meters square. Now, for length or distances, if we need to convert from centimeter to meter, we divide by 100, right? Right? But for centimeter square to meter square, I have to divide by how much? 100 square. Exactly, 100 square. Why 100 square? Because the length in centimeter I divided by 100, the width in 100 I also divide by 100. So length and width, I multiply both of them. So I will divide by 100 how many times? Twice, so 100 square. The same thing from millimeter to meter. If I need to convert from millimeter to meter, I have to divide it by how much? 1,000 what square. And finally, from kilometer to meter, I need to multiply by how much? 1,000 what square. Okay, so this is how we can convert all the units into what? Into meters. Okay, and the rest of the multiple choice questions are what? Are homework as usual. The volume. The first thing that we have to know its definition in Cambridge, Edexcel, and Oxford syllabus. Okay, what is the meaning of volume? What's the definition of volume? Send me on the chat. Yes, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Rania. Another answer, huh? Thank you, Rafaida. The space occupied by a shape or by an object, the capacity of a substance, maybe. Okay, the space, exactly. The volume is the space that the object occupied. The space or the size. The space occupied by an object. And because we are talking about 3-dimension now, that means the unit is now in meter cube. And we have to know how to convert from centimeter cube to meter cube. We divide by how much? Excellent. We divide by 100 cube, because from centimeter to meter, we divide by 100. Centimeter square to meter square, we divide by 100 square. Centimeter cube divided by meter cube, we have to divide by 100 cube. Exactly. And the same thing for what? From millimeter cube to meter cube, we have to divide by what? 1,000 cube. Okay. Now, the main two formulas for regular shape objects that we have it to know it in physics. We have a lot in math, shapes that we have to know their what? The volume, how to find it. But for regular shape objects, okay, we have the rectangular block, okay, or box. Okay, we have to know how to find its volume by multiplying the dimensions, the length and the width and the height. So its volume equal length times width times height. And the disk or the cylinder, okay, if we have a disk or a cylinder that has a base area H and a height H, the base area A and the height H, that means its volume equal what? Area, base area multiplied by height. Sometimes they don't give us the base area. They give us what? The radius, for example, from here to here, the radius. So the volume equal the area, which is pi r square multiplied by H. These are what? These are the two shapes that you mainly ask about, the cylinder or the disk and the rectangular side block. Okay, so that's for what? Volumes for regular shape objects. But for irregular shape objects, what are the formulas that we are going to use and how we are going to find out the volume of any object? Now, it depends on the state of matter that we are talking about. If we are talking about a gas, how much is the volume for the air in this room? It's the same volume of this room. How much is the air in the bottle of oxygen? How much oxygen inside it? It's the same volume of the container, okay, the bottle itself. So that means it takes the same volume as what? As the container. But if we need to find how much water inside this cup, okay, what I will use to find the volume here? Exactly, I will use, thank you, Tina, I will use what? Thank you, Rani, I will use measuring tape. I'm sorry, I'm going to use measuring cylinder, sorry. I will going to use measuring cylinder. And the measuring cylinder, it's a linear cup, not like this one, okay? A linear cup that has a scale on its edge, okay? And whenever I pour more water or more liquid inside it, I see the level higher and I can take how much is the volume of it. But it's impossible for me to take the reading if I hold it like this, because maybe it's not vertical. So I have to put it on what? On a bench, a horizontal bench. And also my eye, I have a parallax error now. My ice should not be above. I have to go lower to be in the same level as the liquid surface in the measuring cylinder. Exactly. So if this is a measuring cylinder, I have to put it on a horizontal bench. And also I have to take the reading, okay, of the bottom or the base of what? Of the meniscus. Most of the liquids, or all the liquids except mercury, all the liquids, they have curved meniscus, curved down. So my readings should be from the base, from the bottom of the meniscus. Here my eye should be, and I will take the reading from here on the scale. So that means we have several points to understand here, to how to use what the measuring cylinder if they ask for. Okay, put it vertical, put it vertically. How? On horizontal bench, on horizontal bench. This is the first step. Second step, okay, I at the same level of the liquid surface, and in this situation I'm avoiding what, ya shabab? Avoid parallax error. Bravo. Avoid parallax error. And third step, I need to what? Take the reading from where? From the base of meniscus. Okay? Yes, thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you, Rania. Yes. Take the reading from the base, the bottom or the top, the base of meniscus. You can see that most of liquids, they curve on the surface, okay? So I need to take the base. Except mercury, it goes up. Tamam? Any question here? Okay, so we talk about gas, we talk about liquids. Now for solid, if I need to find the volume of any irregular shaped object, what do I need? I need to do what Archimedes did when he said that his famous word, Eureka, Eureka. In the time of Persians, they tried to invade what? Rome, okay, or Greek emperor. Okay, one of the answers from Tina, yes, we pour liquid in measuring cylinder and take the volume V1, thank you. Then we add the object inside it to be merged inside it, okay, and the liquid level goes up to be V2, we take the reading V2. Then the volume of the solid will be the difference between the volumes V2 minus V1. Excellent, Tina, thank you. So this is how we can find the volume of any irregular solid object by something called displacement method. So one of the methods that there's something called Eureka can, okay, it has an open like this, and they fill it with what? They fill it with water, and the water, you can see that it stays until this level, okay, where's the open. When we put the object inside, when the object is put inside, the extra liquid, it will come out, okay, and go to where? To another what? Measuring cylinder. I can put it here. So it goes down like this to here. And I can take the reading of the measuring cylinder to know how much is this volume. That's called Eureka can or displacement method, okay? So we have several ways to find out the volume of what? Of the solid object. One of the method that Tina told us about, and the other method that I just mentioned it for you. So what we are going to say, pour, okay, water, I'll put water in the measuring cylinder. To be half full. And take its volume between brackets V1, then merge the object gently in, so no water can get out, gently in, and take the new volume, V2, then what? Then subtract the volumes. Subtract the volumes. So that means volume of the solid object equal V2 minus what? V1. Good. Is it clear? Thank you, Tina. Thank you, all of you. Any question? Any question? Is it clear so far? Okay, thank you, Maham, Mu'taz, Muhammad, and all of you. But now, usually the multiple choice questions are homework for my students. Okay, you can ask me whatever you want. You can find some of the answers in my YouTube channel also. Okay, let's move on to question number 22 in page 12 here in this worksheet. In page 22, what do we have here? Also, this paper is a core, and they bring similar to this question in Edexcel. Okay, similar to this question in Edexcel. This is a Cambridge, and they bring similar to it in Edexcel. What they ask? The figure below shows the top part of measuring cylinder containing some liquid. A, what is the volume of the liquid in the measuring cylinder? Who can tell me how much is the volume here? 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. So the volume here is what? 96. That's it. What's the unit? Exactly, centimeter cube. Bravo. So sometimes the scale is clear, other times the scale is not clear. For example, if they put 100 here, okay, and they put 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, and this is 90. And the liquid is somewhere here, okay? The liquid is somewhere here. So how much is the volume here in this situation? We don't know. Maybe it's 96, similar to this one. Maybe, but it's for sure not 95. And for sure it's not 97.5 because we have, how many divisions do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions. So the difference here, 100 minus 90 divided by what? 4 divisions. That means each division is 2.5. So that means 90, 92.5, 95, 97.5. So it's much closer to 96 than to be 97 or 97.5 because it's closer to 95. So it's between 95 and 96, but not 95, right? So we have to be careful about reading the scale, okay? We have to know how much is the difference and how many divisions do we have, okay? Then what they ask, part B. The figure beside contains 4 ways to observe an eye look to the, okay, we could look to the take readings of the measuring cylinder. Put a circle on the eye position that could be reading. Okay, which one is the correct answer? Is it A, B, C, or D? Which one is the correct answer? Yes, thank you, Mu'taz. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Muhammad, Mina, Muhammad Al, Rania, Ahmad, Rifaida. A lot of answers, they give me the correct answer, and the correct answer is, bravo, it's this one. Why? Because it's in the same level, not this one, and take from what? From the base of what? Of the meniscus, not from the top. It doesn't matter how high it goes on the edge of the container. It's the matter where the base of the meniscus is, okay? So the correct answer is what? This one, okay? The one on the left top. C. Thank you, Najila. Okay, Rinad also, Musab. A lot of good correct answers. Okay, C. In order to fill the measuring cylinder up to 100 centimeter cube, okay? Now it is 96, and we need to add to how much? To 100. So how much is the difference here? It's only 4, okay? 80 drops of the liquid are added to the liquid already in the measuring cylinder. So here we have liquid already 96. We add 80 drops to become how much? To be 100. Calculate the average volume of each drop. Unfortunately, a lot of students, what they do, they said 100 divided by 80, خلاص. Or they said, how much is the difference? It's, we have 80 drops, and the difference here, it's 100 minus 96, so the volume, it's not like this. It's not like this. You are smart, you have to have logical formula in your brain. So the volume for each, it's equal the volume divided by their number. For example, if I have $100 bill and I want to divide it between me and one of you, okay? Can I say 2 divided by 100 or 100 divided by 2? Yes, 100 divided by 2, because I need to know how much money for each. So the volume for each equal the total volume divided by the number, okay? So how much is the volume here? It's 100 minus what? 96, because the volume, it's already 96. Divide by the number of drops, which is what? 80 drops. And the volume for each one is 0.05 by using calculator. This is the answer. But I did a mistake here, Rania. I did a mistake, Martez. Musab also, I did a mistake. What's my mistake? Aha, I did 2 mistakes actually. One of my mistakes, I forget to write my unit, which is centimeter cube. It's written here. This is one of my mistakes. What is the other mistake? What is my other mistake? Yes, I have to put 0 here to get 2 significant figure answer, because this and this are 2 significant figures. The zeros to the left here are not significant figures, but the zeros on the right, if I have decimal places, it is significant figure. So I have to put 0 sometimes, not necessarily always, but yes, okay, because I don't know the mark scheme during the exam, so I have to be careful and put this 0 to have 2 significant figures. And don't forget to write the unit. تمام هيك؟ Clear? الله يرضى عليكم, be careful لو سمحتوا. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here, okay, which is the mass. Who can tell me what is the definition of mass? And this is the last thing that we're going to talk about it today, okay? And I will stay with you for a couple of minutes, okay? What do I mean by mass? The quantity or the size of the object? No, that's not correct. This is the volume. Exactly, Musab. Thank you. Another answer. What's the meaning of the mass? It's not quantity, that's it, okay? Bravo, ya Muhammad. Bravo, ya other Muhammad. We have 2 Muhammads. No, it's not the weight or how much heavy is the object. You can't say that like this. We have to be more specified to give you the answer. It's not the weight. Mass is something and the weight is something else. It's not, they are not the same. Bravo. When we said how much is the mass, that means how much protons, neutrons, atom, molecules, كرشات, لية, ديل واحد ناصح عنده عضلات, okay? This is how much matter in the object. The amount of matter in an object. So whenever there is more matter, the object will be heavier. Yes, of course. And it will have greater weight. That depends on which weight we are saying. If in space we don't have weight, we feel weightlessness. Okay, so the weight is something else. It's not that as the mass. Okay, they are not the same. Okay, so we have equipments to measure what the mass. Who can tell me equipments to? Yes, pan balance or top pan balance or 2-band balance or balance scale. Don't say balance. Balance by itself is not correct answer. Don't scale by itself is not correct answer. Balance scale. Balance scale. Okay, sometimes the mark scheme, they put balance, they put scale, they accept it for you, they take it easy, but sometimes they don't. So you have to be careful. Balance scale, okay, digital or bathroom scale or digital scale or pan scale, okay, or pan balance, okay. All these are what? accepted, okay? Bathroom scale. Imagine they call it bathroom scale because they put it in the bathroom scale, okay? All these are what are accepted, but the main one is the first one is what? Balance scale. Be careful. This is the correct one, okay? And the main unit that we measure the mass is in what? Kilograms. The main unit is in kilograms. Yes, of course, there's grams, and we have to know how to convert from grams to kilograms. Now, the word kilo, as I told you before, kilometer, kilonewton, kilojoule, kilowatt, kilo means 1,000. Yes. So if I want to convert from something small to something big, from gram to kilogram, I need to divide by what? Divide by 1,000. But if I need to convert from tons to kilogram, I need to what? I need to multiply by 1,000. Exactly.